You guys are scared of me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My name is Shawn Newsomf. The Taro because my mother is half Japanese. And I am 44 years old. My childhood was mainly in the Stockdale area, but for most of my adult life, I lived in the east side of Bakersfield. My history with law enforcement spans decades. My biological father and mother were heroin addicts, and law enforcement would constantly raid our home in search of drugs. We ended up living in a tent under a bridge on a dry riverbed when I was 5 years old. Eventually, I was placed in foster care for 3 years. I was adopted at the age of 9, and eventually I left that home when I was 15 due to the constant violence that was perpetuated on me and my brother by my adoptive mother. So with no direction and a lot of anger in my heart, I landed eventually in juvenile hall. Later, as an adult, I graduated to jail, and in my 20s, I hit the jackpot. I landed in state prison for vehicular burglary. During one encounter with the police, I had my face slammed into a patrol car for refusing to answer a question. Once, while in Kern County Jail, I was being processed in intake and was told to spread my feet so that they could pat me down, which was standard procedure. I didn't move fast enough and was choked and slammed to the ground. I tried to explain that I didn't hear the command given, but they didn't listen to me and basically told me just to shut up. Another time, while on parole, I was arrested in a house and taken behind a supermarket in Niles and Mount Vernon. The sheriffs asked me where a friend of mine was. I answered that I didn't know, and I really didn't know. The 6 sheriffs proceeded to help me remember by hitting me in the kidneys with their fists and batons. These are just a few of the experiences I have had with law enforcement. I have witnessed countless other events, whether it be on the streets, in the presence of BPD, the Kern County Sheriff's Department, and at the Restorative facility, where law enforcement has abused their power and hurt members of the community without being held accountable. This behavior is nothing new to Bakersfield and to Kern County as a whole. Lost my spot here. This is why I became a leader with Faith in Action. Faith in Action Kern County, which is a PICO network affiliate, is a network of congregations and people of faith working towards the betterment of our community. People of faith from the community have decided that enough is enough. No longer will the status quo be accepted with regards to police brutality. Law enforcement must change, or the leaders of these organizations need to step aside, change the old guard, and allow new blood that recognizes that the community needs to be protected and not held in a constant state of fear. But this is just one chapter of restorative justice. I committed a crime almost 2 decades ago. I was sentenced. I was guilty. I completed my parole. Well, I went to prison. I completed my parole. And then I was given a $200 check, and I was told, good luck, you'll be back. I could not get a job. Nobody would hire an ex-felon. I searched and searched and finally landed a minimum wage construction job. Bless that owner's heart. Later, I would join the pipe fitters union. They didn't seem to care about my felony. They didn't ask, and I didn't offer. Then in 2004, I broke my back while I was on the job. After my surgery and rehabilitation, I went back to school. I started like many local folks at Bakersfield College. I graduated in 2010. I was accepted to every major college that I applied to, including Cornell from the Ivy League. I chose to attend UC Berkeley, go Bears, where I graduated with a BA in United States History in 2012. And then I came home. A senior pastor in a local church my church, where I had been a member off and on for 35 years. They had a school at that church, and they asked me, the senior pastor said that I should go apply to be the history teacher there. I did, and I was humiliated. In my heart, disappointed and humiliated when I got a phone call the week after the interview, when the only reason they didn't hire me, and these are people that have known me all my life, told me, you have a felony conviction. Sorry, we can't use you. It was okay to volunteer with the children there, with the Royal Rangers, which is like the Christian Boy Scouts, but I wasn't good enough to be on the payroll to teach the children. Law school was next for me. I attended Texas Tech University for the last 2 years. While a student there, I went to the Career Services Center to find a summer internship. I was denied for every internship because of my felony conviction. She literally held up a piece of paper and said, no, 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 maybe. I was again discouraged. I could believe that a 2-decade-old felony could still haunt me. Currently, I am enrolled at Cal State Bakersfield, where I will obtain my master's in history. I went to the Career Services Center this past week, and it was the same old story. Most jobs that were available would not take anyone with a felony conviction. So if anyone is hiring right now, I'm available. I know I'm shaking. The final chapter of the story is who goes to prison and the jails. I was incarcerated with many men who were criminals, who were career criminals and would spend most of their lives in prison, and they didn't have a problem with that. But I was also incarcerated with many men who were drug addicts and or mentally ill. I would try to persuade the crowd today that drug addicts have an addiction, and that addiction should not be criminalized. I know many men who were not criminals until they went to prison. And as for the mentally ill, they need treatment and not incarceration as well. We as a society need to realize that at least 1 in 6 prisoners in the U.S. are mentally ill. The system does not offer the help that they need. Understaffing, insufficient specialized facilities, and limited or no programs leave this segment of the prison population without the treatment that they desperately need. For some of you, none of this is news. You know that we as a nation have 5% of the world's population, and yet we incarcerate almost 25% of all prisoners in the world. For others, this is all new. Someone needs to take a stand. I am one of those people, a concerned citizen of the community who was willing to stand up for what is right. Faith in Action is calling for your help. We need police accountability. We need transparency. We need a system that works. We need the elimination of mandatory minimums in the courtroom. Give that judge some latitude when he or she sentences someone. We need a system that welcomes back ex-convicts after a fair amount of time. It's easy to be convicted, marginalized, and cast out by society. It's another story to try and make your way back in. The system needs to change. Drug addiction needs to be recognized for what it is and dealt accordingly. The mentally ill need proper treatment, facilities, and programs. The system needs to change. With God's help and members of the community, this can be achieved. God bless everyone. Thank you for your time.